How do you do? We're about to unfold the story of Frankenstein. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. Well, we've warned you.
You indeed have been warned. This is Frankenstein Minute, minute number 3, where we dissect the Frankenstein films minute by minute. Did I make that abundantly clear? I'm Tom Lang.
And I'm Bill Evenson. And yeah, this is minute 3, which is a funeral. Once again, we're blessed with a minute that is, you can summarize it in just a couple of words.
Yeah.
It is a funeral.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it opens on a fairly tight shot rather than, as the custom of the times, fairly wide establishing shot showing you the whole set, where you are. Whale chooses instead to open on the hands pulling the rope up out of the grave. And then from there it pans across the mourners, the clergy, and everything. It's interesting to start the film with that, and not have a wide shot. The script details a lot of stuff about them showing up at the grave, looks back and forth, and, who cares?
Right.
This, I think, is a much more dynamic way to start it.
Yeah. Whale has a weird way about that. He doesn't go for the establishing shot. He's sort of famous for that.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we're like, why would he do it like that? But especially in this case, I'm actually fascinated by all of these people,
right,
that we
never
really are never going to see again.
Yeah.
Yep. So I have a quick question right up the front. Whose funeral is this?
That's what I'm wondering.
So there's a guy named who plays the monster, who's played by question mark.
We don't know who it is. Is it Bela Lugosi?
Yeah,
it might be.
It's the funeral of Bela Lugosi.
It could be
Dracula's funeral.
Dracula's funeral.
That could be
he
it.
saw him die at the end of.
He did.
Yeah.
Works perfectly.
Yes, it ties right in. He was in a coffin.
That's right.
It's right there.
Last time we saw him.
Yeah.
I heard him go, oh.
Yeah. Well, you did as of the 90s.
Yeah, right about the special edition.
Yeah. No, that's a good question. What part of the eventual creature were they digging up?
Right.
And they don't go into detail. It really, neither did Mary Shelley.
Right.
So,
is the creature even created from cadavers, rifled graves?
Rifled in the book?
From the gallows, anywhere.
In the novel, are you saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought it is a cadaver, though.
He also hints that there could, or she, it's narrated by Victor, so I say he, hints that he used stuff from slaughterhouses. So there could possibly be animal tissue.
Oof.
I'm actually reading a book that I'm like a chapter away from finishing. It's called Making the Monster, where a scientist, she's gone through and like, how could this actually happen? What was the science of the time that Victor could achieve this? Well, clearly, 200 years, 1818. Clearly, we haven't achieved this yet, but here's what was available, what we knew about anatomy, preserving, animating, all these. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's like it's like steampunk.
Steampunk,
kind of
early steampunk. Well, it is considered the first science fiction novel. Frankenstein.
I suppose so. That makes sense.
Yeah,
I'll allow it.
There you go.
Congratulations, Mrs. Percy
B. Shelley. Yeah, and it's he uses a lot of tracking and craning shots. Not as much craning in this because it really wasn't available. You'll see that much more so in Old Dark House, Bride of Frankenstein. But just the way the camera pans past all the faces.
Yeah.
And they're really interesting faces. Who are these people? Obviously peasants. It's obviously a rural cemetery. Great expressionistic set with all the crucifixes at an angle.
Yeah.
All these wonky angles. Obviously fake sky.
Yeah.
Because there are wrinkles in it, but that never really has bothered me.
Yeah.
Because it's all part, I think, of the expressionistic.
Well, I was about to say, I don't think any of this is by accident, but the wrinkled sky maybe
I think that is by accident.
But Whale is. I could just you picture the man, I guess, just setting these people up in a specific order.
Oh yes.
You've got the kid with his mom. You've got the scraggly haired older dude with his I guess wife probably, and then you got the wolf man. I think is in there at one point. That's this hairy guy, and well.
Oh, then the clergy.
And
you got the guy holding the censer with the incense coming out, and then the guy tolling the bell, which, other than the mumblings of the priest and the sobbing, the only sound you get is the bell tolling, which plays throughout the whole scene.
Yeah. Till
they walk away.
Right away, we got effective sound. Without a score. It's
really sophisticated for 31 use of sound there.
Yeah. This already we're the anti-Dracula.
Right. Yeah. You don't get
This is essentially minute 1. Of the movie.
It is essentially,
You open the film with
the close-up of hands pulling the rope.
Yeah, and it's very much not Dracula. These are the things that people ding Dracula for. Like you say, the moving camera. Dracula was shot like it was a stage
play. Yeah,
they just set the camera up and presumably passed out.
So the big difference is Whale knew how to use the camera, knew how to use editing, lighting. All this stuff, which, and we talked about Robert Florey, he did as well, but I think Whale takes it to a whole other level.
Yeah.
It's used in purpose for the film and not just as show-offy gobbledygook.
Yeah.
There's a shot in Murders of the Rue Morgue where the camera's mounted on a swing.
Yeah.
That, okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Good, you managed to pull that off.
That's great for 1932, I suppose, but... when these cameras weighed like 1,000 pounds, but it doesn't serve the story at all. Whereas everything Whale does with the camera, the editing, even if there's a jump cut, and there's one that'll be coming up in the next minute, it still works. It still fits. I don't mean to overestimate, but I credit where credit is due. He brings this movie to life.
Yeah,
with the choices he made.
Right. And in this minute in particular, I hadn't read the script. You said the script went into detail about the funeral.
Yeah.
So maybe this isn't even Whale, but we spend a decent amount of time, essentially this minute, on this funeral.
Yeah.
And we don't ever see these people again, or know who they
know
exactly
who the deceased is. Yeah.
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 But it matters because it helps to set the stage. It sets up the idea of something really awful that's going to happen.
Yes.
No matter what your beliefs or whatever are, we've all been to funerals, and they're very,
it's a very
emotional time,
yeah.
and it's taken very seriously here.
Yes.
Yeah. There's sobbing.
There's sobbing. There's that tolling of the bell.
Absolutely.
I think, just makes the scene. Excuse me. We'll edit that out.
Yep.
Makes the scene flow, which were it not there, you'd have that that 30s sort of hiss that Dracula has.
Yeah.
And it just points out nothing's really happening.
Yeah.
Whereas this, it draws you in. I think the close up of the hands pulling the rope up, the tolling of the bell, the camera movement from left to right.
The as you said mumbling, but it's the actual. I saw a script online where they actually say what the words are of the Roman Latin.
Yeah.
And I Googled it to figure out what it was, and it's what you think it is. Yeah. It's a Roman Catholic funeral thing.
Yeah.
But in Latin.
Yeah.
So these people are Catholic.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know if there's any significance to that in Hollywood in 1931. I don't know if it means anything at all.
Certainly the Lemleys were Jewish.
Yeah.
I don't know if Whale had any particular affiliation.
Yeah. It's just the only thing I would think is there's a real ceremony to it.
Yes.
What you get with ritual. The Roman Catholic Church.
Yeah.
So I would go with that. That works really well.
And these are clearly, peasants who are very devout.
Yeah.
So to desecrate that mere seconds later, like you say, is a very, to them, it would be quite a shocking, horrible thing. We're looking at it, here in 2018. Yeah, grave robbing is still kind of frowned upon. It's still not,
Yeah, nobody knows that better than me.
Yeah,
but,
see.
Listen.
You rob 2-3 graves.
Yeah,
you get
they
a
said.
Yeah.
No, I'm doing my.
They said.
That's my Lugosi. Yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
so I think, definitely a deliberate attempt to set up something awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this starts at a point that's about a quarter of the way into the book.
Okay.
You know, we've jettisoned all the background, family, Victor's life, all of that has been jettisoned and streamlined. You know, and most adaptions show all that.
Yeah.
You know, certainly Branagh spent far too long showing that. You know,
Well, that's Mary Shelley's
Mary
Frankenstein,
Shelley,
as he
it's
called it.
really not, but that's okay.
It's not? Okay, I don't
really.
know.
It is and it isn't.
Yeah.
You've not seen it.
I've seen that film. I don't
Mary,
know.
Oh,
I just don't know if
you've never read the book.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're
So
perfect to be hosting this.
It's called Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, so I assume it's the book.
Yeah, there are better adaptations. Anyway,
I pledge to you, I am going to read the book. I downloaded it.
Okay.
I have the ebook.
Do you? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Which version? Do you know?
Both.
Both?
So
Okay.
I could do the comparison if I
Yeah,
wanted.
I've read both. Not to sit
Brag.
here and be pontific. Yeah, ladies, huh? Yeah, right.
That's true. And I just keep calling her Mrs. Percy B. Shelley, so we know where I'm at on this. What time is it? It's sunset.
It's sunset, and in the next minute, there's a line referring to
Yeah.
that.
So we're having
So it's a late,
creepy,
yeah,
dark, funeral at
sunset on this sort of barren, sort of blanched hillside.
Yeah, right.
You know, the trees are dead that you see.
Yeah.
You know, the figure of death is between the two clergy.
We could talk about that. I do not understand what on earth's going on there. Why is the Grim Reaper in attendance? So this is a cemetery?
Yeah.
I guess it must be a cemetery.
There's crosses in the
That's
crucifix
true.
on the far right. When it continues the pan, there's
as you say, at an angle.
At an angle,
Little-
everything is they're all at oblique angles. Nothing is plumb.
Yeah, right.
You know? And again, I'm all on purpose, I'm sure, because
Yeah.
it's Cabinet of Dr. Caligari territory.
True. Yeah, absolutely. And so what is the Grim Reaper? I think they go into this maybe in the commentary or something, so I don't want to repeat something somebody else has said, but it is fascinating to me. Is this is this something that's in the cemetery that someone has put up in the cemetery?
Yeah. See,
Or
I
is
don't-
it death? Is death
That's
literally
like
there?
literally- well, something happens in either the next minute or the minute after. I think it's in minute 5.
Oh yeah, well, we
Something
don't want to spoil
happens-
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very deliberately placed there. Now,
Absolutely.
whether it's
It comes into focus.
yes,
As you watch it.
you
yeah.
watch it. Yeah, it pans past the first clergy is kind of out of focus,
Mm-hmm.
and then it sort of rack focuses onto the figure of death,
Mm-hmm.
and then over to the one tolling the bell.
So what's your opinion? Is it?
I'm assuming it's something that, I mean, I don't know a lot about Catholicism or certainly in Europe.
I guess we're in Europe.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. You didn't-
I mean,
we're not in Chaska.
We don't is that in Europe? So yeah. All
I mean,
right.
I mean,
maybe in Europe there's all kinds
well,
of Grim
see, I don't
Reapers
know. Yeah,
standing
I
up
don't
all
know.
over.
I don't know if it's like
very
if it's a
creepy.
talisman or something that they
Yeah,
put in
right,
cemeteries.
right.
I really don't know.
Yeah. Either way,
and again,
it's very effective and creepy.
Yeah,
to have
it sets the tone,
Mhm.
and again later it comes into play in a few minutes.
Mhm.
So it's very obviously it's deliberately there because it is focused upon.
Mhm.
Whereas the crucifix that's a little further to the right is not.
Yeah.
It's panned over and panned past.
Right. Might be a statement there.
Yeah,
too.
it might be.
Might be.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess you could say that's. Well, we've already talked about the Frankenstein not reckoning upon God.
Yeah.
It's out there.
It's
These ideas are out there.
Ed put it out there.
Yep.
And
Good old Eddie.
Eddie.
Eddie warned us.
He did. He don't.
Boy,
Well then
we should ask Ed's great niece if we can use his voice at the beginning of our.
we should. It's like I said, Natalie, if you're out there, can't remember her last name, or otherwise
well.
I'd stalk her somewhere.
It's not Van Sloan.
It was not Van
Oh,
Sloan.
shoot.
That would have been a dead giveaway.
Yeah. It was. All right, so we go past that. Do we see
past-
anything that's not in the Oh wait, there is one thing that happens.
Well, there's this jump cut
Yes.
to where'd it go? well, there's jump cut to the star of the film.
Yeah.
Although you don't
Dwight
see his
Fry.
face. Yes, Dwight Fry. It cuts. Well, you start to see the fence that
Yeah.
they're behind in the wide shot.
Yep.
Then it cuts to close up
Yep.
of Fritz Dwight Fry, kind of, which is wonderfully parodied in Young Frankenstein, where he's rising up and then Henry pushes him down. Get down, you fool!
Mm-hmm.
And then stands taller than Fritz ever was.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
you know,
You get down.
you get down. I'm going to
Not
stand
because
right
I'm
here.
worried that they'll see us, apparently,
Yeah, right.
but just because screw you,
Yeah,
pal.
you get down.
Yep. You get down. Get the down, boy. It establishes their relationship.
It does.
Right up
It
front.
does. Yes.
You know, one thing I noticed too is Colin Clive's got a lot of makeup on, but it looks great. Like he's made up to look.
Well, he's supposed to look withdrawn, haggard, and I think a lot of that was
a mess.
Colin Clive,
Well, that's true.
tragically alcoholic.
Tragically,
and
yeah.
had some major issues.
yeah.
When he was young, he had a horse riding accident, busted up his knee,
Okay.
that ruined his military career, and I think that led a lot to the alcoholism, the haunted acting. See what happens?
Yep.
You see what happens, kids?
It's true.
Don't fall off your horse.
That's right.
But yeah, he could not. He didn't achieve what he was supposed to have achieved.
Yeah.
And it was haunted man by all accounts.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is made up, I think, to look a little more haggard than he really was.
Mm-hmm.
The sunken eyes, the sort of that withdrawn.
Yeah.
Someone who hasn't seen the light of day in a long time.
Yeah. And is in the act of doing something that could be portrayed radically differently. Say it was me. Say it was you and me,
All right.
Fritz.
All right.
And we were going to go and do this. Not to spoil minute 5, but they're not there to just watch.
No.
And so you could easily see this being played with great reluctance. Like, should I really be doing this? And no.
And it's not.
There's
no,
none
not
of
at
that.
all.
Yeah.
No, there's not a second's
It's,
hesitation.
he can't wait for this to be over.
Well,
Yeah.
he's very driven, and I think that's one of the things that works so well in Clive's performance is
Yeah.
that driven, almost to the point of hysteria, but not quite. He never really crosses the line where it becomes sort of comic or outrageous.
Yep.
He knows, and I'm sure it's a combination of he and Whale knowing where that line was.
Yeah.
But
And
he's
as
a
you say,
perfect choice. For
Never
that.
quite crosses that line, but yeah, he does get hysterical. But by the time he does, I mean, my goodness, look what's just happened.
Yeah. He's earned it.
He's earned it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Clive was not the choice that Universal had for Frankenstein.
That was Lugosi. No,
Well,
you had said.
Lugosi. Yeah, Flory wanted Lugosi as Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah, that would
I
be
can't
a
say.
hell of a thing.
I don't know, man.
Down, you fool.
Yeah.
Well,
We're getting into maybe watch his performance in Bride of the Monster would be an idea of what it would have been like.
that's probably right. Pull the strings.
Pull the strings. So that's Glenn or Glinda.
Was it? Oh, you're
Yeah,
right. I'm
yeah.
sorry. I get those mixed up.
But yeah, once Junior made it clear, no, we don't want Lugosi as the Doctor. We want him as the monster. They had picked Leslie Howard as
Yeah,
Henry.
I've heard that name. I can't remember what
Yeah,
that is.
I can't conjure up. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah.
I can't conjure up a filmography, but you'd know him if you saw him.
But not a haggard.
No, I don't.
Twisted alcoholic.
He had more of the sort of the matinee good looks.
Kind of a John Bowles type.
Well, he could act. There's a difference
Oh,
there.
that's a big
Yeah,
difference.
that's a big difference.
That makes sense.
I don't know that it would have worked.
Yeah.
He would not have brought that. I don't know. There's a gravitas. There's that haunted quality that Clive had. Wouldn't have been there.
Like you say, he's been up late a lot.
Yeah. Yes.
He's been working on this for a while.
Burning the midnight oil for quite some
that's
time.
right. Burning
Yeah.
the midnight oil,
Yeah.
definitely. And I don't know that Clive was sleeping well either.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's the first time or only time in Frankenstein history that the actor playing the Doctor was taller than the actor playing the creature by about an inch. How's that for useless trivia?
Oh, I guess I didn't know that. I'm not surprised by it though, because
Yeah.
as we all know, question mark.
Whoever
Anyway,
that guy, whoever they ended up choosing.
Yeah, that's right. Lugosi, presumably.
Lugosi was tall too. So.
That's true. Lugosi is tall. Yeah, that's right.
What else? Oh, and Peter Lorre was one of his pallbearers. How's that for interesting?
Peter Lorre was one of Colin
Clive's pallbearers.
pallbearers.
Yeah.
Did they ever appear together? What did they? How the hell?
Yeah, Mad Love.
Oh, Clive. Oh, I haven't seen Man Love.
Haven't seen that.
Oh my goodness.
See, you're perfect for hosting
Where is
this
it?
show.
Should I-
You got it in here.
Do I have a copy? No, I don't even have a copy. It goes right
It's in a box set.
Oh, I probably got
It's
it in
an
a box
MGM,
set.
some MGM horror box set.
It might be under then. Yeah, then I do have it.
It's
And yeah, I've
it's an
seen it.
excellent.
It's
You
great.
should take
I
the
should
journey.
watch that one definitely.
Yeah, you want to look at a haunted Colin Clive.
Yeah.
He really looks rough in that.
All
And I
right.
don't think it's makeup there.
Okay. What
Yeah.
year is that? 35?
35.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same year as
Same year as Bride. Yep. Yeah. And then Dwight Fry,
Yep.
who was a holdover from Dracula, was in the ill-fated makeup test footage that Flory shot.
Yep.
And went on. Do you want a list?
Sure.
Of
We'll
all-
take a list.
This is just a partial list, but these are horror and whatever. Of course, Dracula, Frankenstein, the original 1931 Maltese Falcon. He was in.
I don't know that one.
Don't know that one?
No.
It's certainly
I think I have that because it was
it's
included
on
the
the it's
disc.
on the DVD with the others.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
interesting.
still looking in the M's for Mad Love. All right.
I forget what the horror collection it's in, but
Yeah.
anyway, Frankenstein, of course, Invisible Man. He's in the Invisible Man. He's, I think, someone calling in a sighting or something like that.
Okay.
Bride of Frankenstein. He's Carl, basically Fritz Mach 2,
But different.
but
I
different.
think.
Different, yeah.
Not a dwarf in that
Not a
one.
dwarf. He's a little more sinister
Yes.
in that. Yeah. He's in the sequel to Waterloo Bridge: The Road Back,
Oh.
which was one of Wales' undoings at Universal. That's a story in and of itself.
Ironically named Road
Yeah,
Back.
right. Also, Son of Frankenstein, apparently he's in, unconfirmed. I've never noticed him.
Okay.
I've read numerous
Villager.
things. Villager, I assume,
Yeah.
third one from the right or
Yeah.
whatever. I'd read that there was stuff shot and cut.
Oh, is there even maybe a picture?
There might be a still. But there's lots of stills from Bride
Yeah.
of Carl's escapades that were cut.
But there's all those stills from Son of Frankenstein where the monster's killing people that you don't see. in
Yeah,
the
it could have been.
film.
It could have been.
I thought maybe one was. Nah.
It's hard to tell because the script is so different
Mhm.
than because they were making it up as they went along.
Yeah, that's
Which-
one of the great things about that movie. to be honest.
Yeah. Lots of material there. He's in Whale's Man in the Iron Mask,
Okay.
Ghost of Frankenstein.
So he became a real whale guy.
He was a whale guy.
He was
and-
inherited by Whale, and he loved.
Well, he
loved
was.
him.
Yeah, he must have because he kept using him over and over again. He's in Ghost of Frankenstein.
Obviously.
Yep, and Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman.
Yeah. Saw Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman again recently. Yeah.
Yeah.
You definitely notice him there.
Yeah.
The villagers in that one are. Well, I guess we'll talk about it. But
Colorful.
there's a lot
lots.
of. It's interesting because that one has the real. You get real insight into their conversations
Yeah,
about
yeah.
how to handle this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's also a song that Alice Cooper wrote, the Ballad of Dwight Fry.
Don't know. it.
No, I
know
don't
it.
either. But the,
I'm more familiar with Bela Lugosi's dead.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
The Ballad of Dwight Fry.
that's what I got on Dwight Fry.
All right.
Died
well,
at age 44. He
Yeah.
was working as a tool maker at night. Died on the bus on the way home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Clive and here they are. Clive and Fry.
yeah. Fry
Neither
died.
one of them looking all that great.
No.
And neither one of them gonna. Well, I guess
Well,
Fry lasted quite a
Fry
bit
lasted
longer.
longer, but yeah, and Clive was only 37 when he died.
Yeah. How old
So-
was Fry? 50?
44?
Oh, I thought you said that he died in 44.
I think it was
Same
40,
difference.
40. He died in 43 at 44.
Okay,
I
there
think
you
something
go.
like that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
but yeah.
Well, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman is 43, I think.
Yeah, it's one of
But
his
he could have
last.
been. So was he dead by the time it came
No,
out?
I think it was one of his last credits, though.
Hmm.
One or two after that.
Nice of them to bring him back at that point, because by that point, I don't even know how anybody looks at these movies. At that point.
Yeah,
like,
no, they were
cranking 'em
commodity. Well, I mean, that film actually started as a joke.
Yeah.
You know,
true.
which we'll have to save for
Yep.
4 or 5 years from now.
Yep, that's right. We don't want to
We don't
spoil
want
it.
to spoil that joke.
That's right.
It's a good one.
God, that's film 5
Film
in the
5
series,
out
so
of
it's
8.
a ways
yeah,
down
it's a
the
ways,
road.
Yeah.
Could probably spoil the joke.
All right. Well, by that point, George Wagner, who did The Wolf Man, had taken over as producer.
Mhm.
You know this, right? Yeah.
But you started to tell it, so
Oh,
I
well,
figured I'd
all
let
right.
you go.
Kurt Siodmak, who was the writer,
Mm-hmm.
who had written Wolfman, he was in the commissary having lunch as Wagner walked past. And he's like, "Hey, George, I got the perfect title for your next movie. Frankenstein Wolf's the Meat Man."
Yeah.
Wagner didn't get it,
Yeah.
didn't hear it, whatever. He's like,
Whatever.
"Yeah, that's great. Come
Let's
up to
do
my
it."
office and let's do it." I'm like, "Oh, shit, now I got to write this damn thing."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Siodmak lived to be like 100.
Oh, yeah, he was like
he
110 or something.
yeah,
he lived well into
still
the,
giving interviews
yeah,
about it.
yeah, well into the 90s and
telling that story.
telling that story, among others.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he was a crotchety old... Reminded me of my grandpa in a way.
Really?
Kind of looked like him, yeah.
Okay.
My grandpa was German, so yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
I'll have
Cross
to-
between Kurt Siodmak and Fritz Lang, you know.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's...
Yeah. One thing we talked was in being in Europe, but where exactly are we?
Mhm.
Where do these movies take place?
And when?
And when?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see it more later, but we've got people in, you know, gypsy costumes up against people in contemporary 1930s suits.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Got the first telephone.
first telephone, an electrical device. Didn't you say you just read an interesting article about the timeline and the setting or something?
Yeah, it's
Is
like
it
actually
in the-
right over there.
Yeah.
What it is it's a tortured attempt to try and retcon this.
Okay.
I haven't read it recently. I just skimmed through it. But it's by Don
Glut?
and it's in Castle of Frankenstein issue whatever from 2000. And, you know, I think that is... It's this, everyone does this now. It's because Star Wars, Star Trek,
yeah,
every
yeah.
universe has its mistakes. They're
Yes,
basically
yeah,
just
yeah, they're
mistakes.
continuity errors.
Continuity
yeah.
errors, and that's what we really like to focus on is, you know, just to try to find some tortured way
Yeah, to make
stitch
everything,
all of this
yeah.
together. And I think it works okay. Where you really get into trouble is the Mummy movies,
Oh.
because I think everybody. So you got a character that is in one movie, and then they bring that actor back for the next movie and make them up to be old
Yeah.
to hand off to the next one.
Yeah.
And then they do that enough times where you're like, well, how many
How many-
hundreds
yeah,
of years
yeah.
have
We're
now
in, like
gone
into the
by?
70s now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it does end up being like the 70s.
Yeah,
by the end
yeah,
of
yeah.
those
I think by the
Mummy
Mummy's
movies.
Curse, it's yeah.
Yeah.
We're in the 70s.
The only one who's still kicking around is the Mummy.
Mummy, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't remember any particular insight other than to say
Well, I
that
think
it is deliberately. I shouldn't say deliberately. It seems that like Whale is having fun with the idea and isn't particularly concerned
No.
with time or place,
Time or
other
place,
than making
yeah.
it vaguely European
Right.
and not of this time, meaning
Well,
the
The
1931.
1930s,
Yeah.
temporary, yeah, or 1818, either.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Glut has a book, The Frankenstein Legend,
Mm-hmm.
from 73. That was one of the texts that got me through the 70s until, you know, more in-depth research came along.
Mm-hmm.
And he addresses it in there, too, as the same sort of this nebulous sort of its own world, you know. You never get into the 40s and, you know, thankfully Frankenstein never encounters the Nazis, or World War II
Yeah.
never comes
Right.
into it,
Good
because that would
point.
have been epically awful.
Like it was
Like
for
with
Sherlock
Sherlock
Holmes.
Holmes.
Yeah, I it wasn't epically awful, but it was it.
Well, I mean,
it
Sherlock
certainly
Holmes,
it
I could-
certainly. I don't know. There's
Sherlock
so many of those movies
is-
that you can
yeah.
just kind of go, well, these are this and these are this.
Yeah.
I'm using my hands to say these are this.
Yeah. For those of you listening at home,
Yeah. Bill's gesturing.
gesturing.
I don't know what he's doing.
I'm ducking out of the way.
Yeah. There you go. There's
Yeah,
your setting.
there's
You've
just-
already thrust right into the world of
Yeah,
Frankenstein.
without a word of dialogue, without any kind of exposition, we're right in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
So-
you do have the first word of dialogue. Down. you
Down.
fool.
Well, okay, but it's not
Till late in the
till
minute.
late. Yeah.
Yeah.
So fine.
I gotcha.
All right.
I gotcha.
I give. Let's. Shall we?
I think we call
We
it.
call it.
All right. Till next time, this has been Frankenstein Minute, Minute 3. See you for Minute 4.
If we survive.
Belong dead.
Prepare for a spine-tingling, nerve-shattering podcast featuring all your favorite monsters. You won't believe your ears when you listen to Monster Kid Radio. Here are your hosts, Derek M. Cook, and his ever-rotating stable of guests discuss your favorite classic and sometimes not-so-classic monster movies. Subscribe to Monster Kid Radio through iTunes or Stitcher, or visit MonsterKidRadio.net before the next weekly episode of Monster Kid Radio. Go through the archives for interviews with Sarah Karloff, Victoria Price, and Joel Hodgson. Listen to discussions about movies like Creature from the Black Lagoon, Island of Terror, and King Kong. And don't forget convention coverage from Monster Bash and the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival. Classic monsters, modern talk, and the head of Rondo Hatton. Only on Monster Kid Radio.